trillion in debt. If this bubble finally implodes, many Americans would be left penniless and heartbroken. For example, what happens if state and federal pension funds go broke, or if 401ks and IRAs get cut in half due to hyperinflation? Hi, I'm Lance Wallnow, news analyst, best-selling author, and evangelical leader to millions of people just like you. People who understand something big is coming. Now's the time to prepare with a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Precious metals are among the most proven hedges you can make. And they're even better inside a tax advantage account. To get a free info kit on gold IRAs, text the word FAITH, F-A-I-T-H, to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see why a gold IRA can help you. There are no strings attached, so just text FAITH to the number 989898 right now, and I pray you are blessed with continued prosperity.
An earthquake rocking New Guinea, and officials say there's heavy destruction and a number of people are missing.
6.9 earthquake has hit a remote part of western Papua New Guinea, killing at least some people and causing extensive damage to around 1,000 homes. The quake rocked the East Sepik region at about 6:20 a.m. local time on Sunday at a depth of 25 miles. The province's governor, Alan Bird, said the area was already dealing with widespread flooding from earlier in March. Adding shelter, clean water, food and canvases to keep belongings dry are the most immediate pressing needs for the village communities. Local emergency crews were already active in the region because of the flooding when the earthquake struck. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
And a closer look at Wall Street right now. The Dow's still off 144 points. NASDAQ is up nearly 6 points. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com. Yet more trouble in the Middle East after a United Nations resolution that demands a ceasefire in Gaza.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is accusing the U.S. of retreating by allowing the UN Security Council vote without conditioning a ceasefire on the release of Israeli hostages. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield says they're trying to stop the bloodshed.
We're getting closer to a deal for an immediate ceasefire with the release of all hostages, but we're not there yet.
An Israeli delegation was expected to present the White House with its plans for an expected ground invasion in Rafah. I'm Jackie Quinn.
A South Korean soccer player who was detained and investigated in China for nearly a year over bribery allegations has now been released. Son Jun-ho, a former member of the South Korean national team. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for News Talk STL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and News Talk STL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. Give Benjamin Schaefer a call at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Windy and turning wet today. We've got a wind advisory in effect until 7 p.m. Could see some gusts over 40 miles per hour at times. At the same time, rain chances ramping up. Spotty showers this morning, but a soaking rain likely from this afternoon into this evening. A mild high around 54. Rain tapers off overnight tonight, but a rumble of thunder or two possible, down to about 47. Any lingering rain early Tuesday gets out of here quickly, and then we're partly sunny and dry for the rest of the day. 54 for the high tomorrow. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This week on News Talk STL.
Freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas.
What we saw was the performance of a permanent politician.
I'm running for re-election.
We will have a victory.
I want you to imagine the future nightmare if Trump's back in office.
He's been a disaster as a president.
News, analysis, and opinion.
We deserve someone that's not pushing, 80, 90.
The choice in November is going to be
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise, has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to Monday afternoon here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. It was a busy weekend, and it looks like it is going to be another very busy week.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being with us. I'm Tony Colombo. That is Katie Fitzpatrick. How are you?
I'm great. I hear some clanging.
Huh? What?
I hear something clanging
What?
over there.
What do you hear?
Just a little clink, a little ching.
How was your weekend? I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you over the sound of all of these medals around my neck.
Medals, baby!
That I didn't win, but my daughter did.
That's incredible.
State championship gymnastics meet over the weekend. Maggie Colombo. I have to make a correction. I need to correct the record, make a redaction to my Twitter. At Tony Colombo Talk. You should follow me there. I'm making a effort to. I was once a very active Twitter person, and I am making an attempt to be that again. So let's go. Let's do it together. At Tony Colombo Talk. At Tony Colombo Talk on Twitter. I sent out I took a picture of Maggie and the medals. Yesterday after the meet, and I said 2 bronze and a silver. That was wrong. That was misinformation. It was 2 silvers and a bronze. One of her silver medals was on the vault, and it was actually a tie for silver. So she was. There was a little bit of I misread the list, or what happened exactly with the scores. I thought she was in third. She was actually tied for second. So it's 2 silvers and a bronze.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Silver on beam, silver on vault, and bronze on the floor. It was the state championship, which is a big deal because you have to perform at a certain level at the state championships to qualify for the regional championships, and she did that comfortably. She finished 4th overall. She almost got another. She was almost on the podium again for the overall. So yeah, made it to regionals, no problem, and now we head to regionals in a few weeks, and that'll be the last meet of the season. But
beast, she's a beast.
Beast mode.
Holy moly! Oh, don't forget that Tony also put a link to her floor routine on the tweet.
It's on that same tweet. Yes,
it's so good.
The tweet with the misinformation about the
about
the medal.
Fake news.
Yes,
it's really great.
2 silvers and a bronze, and I'm wearing them right now, and you can clearly see that there's 2 silvers. 1 bronze.
She's great.
Not 2 bronze and 1 silver. Yeah.
Making her way.
Yeah. What'd you do this weekend? Not that.
Not that.
So.
Could never do that.
Think about your life a little bit. And, feel inadequate.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
You don't.
But I loved it. Congratulations, kiddo. Maggie Colombo just killing it. All right. Let's dive in here. If you hear a little clankety clank, it's just the medals moving around on my.
Don't worry about it.
Feels good. I feel like a champion.
Golly, could you imagine? I've never had 3 medals on the same day, a day in my life. Like, no. And when I went to go watch her on the beam, the whole time I was like, it's terrifying. And she just did it with ease.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
She's in a zone right now. She's absolutely killing it. So we got one more meet to go and close out this season hopefully with a bang. All right. Oh, where to start? Last week was nuts. Monday through Friday. It was just every day was a fire hose of news, and I'm afraid that this week is going to be exactly the same. We're already starting out with a lot of headlines here. Oh, by the way, we're going to talk to Rob Carter in just about an hour, just after 3 o'clock, and we're going to talk to the Sheriff of Jefferson County. Our old friend, Sheriff Dave Marshak, is going to join us in about 10 minutes. Speaking of Twitter, also on Twitter this weekend, I saw Sheriff Marshak posting about the border and illegal immigration, and you would think that a Missouri sheriff, this goes back to what we continue to hear, and I'm not saying it, and I believe this wholeheartedly, but we continue to hear from law enforcement leaders and lawmakers in the state of Missouri and Illinois and, across the Midwest that every state is a border state.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be in Texas or New Mexico or Arizona for the border to have significant impact on your life.
Right.
So, back in the day, a Missouri sheriff posting about, and by back in the day, I mean 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Not long ago.
It would not, you wouldn't see a lot of sheriffs in Missouri making a comment about immigration or the border. But now it impacts sheriffs in Missouri. So I want to talk to him about that. I want to talk to the sheriff about that and many other things. So looking forward to talking to Sheriff Dave Marshak here in just a few minutes. But let's start with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's $454 million judgment bond was slashed today by more than half in an appeals court ruling. This puts to bed any notion of his property being seized, because that's the path that we were on at the end of last week. Letitia James, that ridiculous judge, that whole process down there, they were threatening to seize his property if he couldn't pay the $450 million bond, which even we reported last week, even Mark Cuban, a all the way progressive Democrat who hates Donald Trump, had even spoken out and said that is a completely ridiculous, unrealistic ruling. It's impossible for anybody to do that, even after all the snark that was coming out of Democrats and, the whole, how I know Donald Trump can pay? Math. Remember that?
Math.
Yeah.
Who was, that congressman.
Yeah. It was a Democrat congressman who doesn't understand economics at all, who said that. And even Mark Cuban, who hates Donald Trump and is a dyed-in-the-wool progressive Democrat, talked about how ridiculous this ruling was. Well, an appeals court slashed former President Trump's bond payments today, lowering it to $175 million to within the next 10 days, which, by the way, is still nuts.
Yeah.
The fact that that's a dramatic slash and it's still $175 million.
Big chunk of change.
Yeah, still ridiculous. Trump had previously faced a deadline today to pay that $454 million bond that came in as a result of the civil fraud allegations brought against him by New York Attorney General Letitia James. The New York Appeals Court, hours before the deadline this morning, made the ruling to post that the $454 million had been lowered. That bond, or they had lowered that bond considerably. The court ordered that Trump pay $175 million within 10 days. Trump said he will abide by that appeals decision and post the $175 million bond. If Trump does post that $175 million by the end of the 10-day deadline, it would effectively block Letitia James, the AG, from her attempts to seize Trump's assets and properties as he continues to appeal the judgment by New York Judge Arthur Engoron, who continues to be a clown also in this. Trump blasted the judge on Truth Social. I'll read a little bit of it here. There's a lot, and we don't need to read it all. You can imagine what Trump, he has said about this judge and in the past. Judge Engoron has refused to obey the decision of the appellate division relative to the statute of limitations. This is a confrontation between a judge and those that rule above him. A very bad situation, in which to place New York State and the rule of law. Engoron has disgraced the appellate division and is very clear, its very clear and precise ruling. Trump posted on Truth Social earlier. He also said, quote, he should be made to do so and at the same time release the gag order. That judge has been overturned, I think, 5 different times regarding this case. So he's the judge in the case at this level. And so he can make his ruling, which he did. But I think it's been 5 times now. Different rulings from this case with Letitia James and Donald Trump have been appealed and overturned. And every time it's overturned, the legal experts and the next court, the appeals court, trashes the decision as being completely wrong, completely illegal, completely not abiding by the law. Like, this judge he's just doing his own thing.
Throws it out the window.
Regardless of what's right and what's wrong, what the law says, what the Constitution says, what legal experts say, how everybody else interprets the law.
System.
Yeah. He's just doing it. And he's getting slapped down every time. There should be some kind of accountability.
Absolutely.
That a judge has to be held to when they go completely off the rails like this.
When they go rogue. I mean, this is a rogue judge.
Yes.
And I didn't know that. I didn't understand what really that meant until, of course, Trump.
Yeah.
There's so many things that were rude awakenings to me that were happening in the legal system because of what's happening to Trump. This is what I don't know how to qualify this. So, of course, they did slash this bond in half, but is this technically a victory, a win for Trump, even though he still has to pay, to my understanding, an egregious amount of money?
Yes. Yes, it is a win, but you're right. This is still ridiculous.
Because I was thinking about how to pose a question today about this on Twitter, but I don't know. Yes, this is great because they weren't capable of seizing his assets, which you just highlighted. That was the biggest reason of them all.
Mm-hmm.
So I would qualify that as a victory, but then you still look at what he has to pay. And Trump today, when he spoke about it, he was like, this is outrageous, but it's something that I'm willing to pay. Like, this is a term that I'm willing to pay with.
Yeah.
And
He won because they slashed what? Over $250,000?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
$250 million, excuse me, off of it. So, yeah, anytime you get, $260 million removed off what you owe or what your bond is, then yes, that's a victory.
Relief, yeah.
Whenever
Relief.
whenever you dodge, going through the process of your assets being seized, then that's a win, yes. But this is still too much.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. In most cases, not most, but in many cases, they'll wait for the appeals process before they even enforce collecting anything.
Right.
But of course, this judge isn't playing that game.
Moving the
They wanted him to
fast-paced
pay the
route.
whole thing originally up, like they want it all.
Yeah.
Before the appeals have a chance to be heard. So it's not rare for a judge to say, well, you don't owe anything until, because the process isn't over yet, because Trump is obviously appealing every piece of this. So
rightfully so.
Right.
Because I still can't wrap my brain around this all being about Mar-a-Lago. Like, even the genesis of this case about how much Mar-a-Lago is worth.
Yeah.
I was
and other assets,
and
like
other
assets. It's Mar-a-Lago's part of it, but it's Trump's businesses and his properties, and that they claim that he overvalued them.
But it's
I
listened to him talk about it today because that was the big part of the news. Which, by the way, it's funny just watching Trump in the limelight again like this, because there was a lull in our lives, not for a very long period of time, but there was a lull of these kind of like, I'm just going to go off the cuff and speak to the press because I want to kind of things. And I watched it. And first of all, I'm sorry to go off it, but Trump is compelling. So I watched a lot.
Sure.
Of it. But
he's entertaining.
He is so compelling. But I watched this, and he said from the jump, this is all about people not wanting to, like, underestimating the value of Mar-a-Lago. And now we're here at a point where, yeah, they cut off a lot of this bond, half of it, more than half, but I still have to pay a lot of money, all because they don't want to talk about how much Mar-a-Lago is actually worth and the other assets, as you just said, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one in, I feel like, a million cases. Then there's a Stormy Daniels one coming up. Then there was the case that just happened 2 weeks ago that he had a victory on. I'm like, when does it end?
And when did she's been back in the Stormy Daniels back in the news.
Now she's
blasting
here.
Michael Avenatti last week about
God.
what a scumbag he is.
Ugh.
Which is
agree with that.
funny to see that back in the news. But anyway, but yeah, you're right. And when you think about it that way, it's like, what are we even talking about here? What are we even talking about here? There's no victim. This is truly, you hear people will say, like, oh, it's a victimless crime. This one truly is a victimless crime.
Right. I don't know. But
and you're trying to charge somebody $500 million. You're trying to make somebody pay $500 million and take away their property for a victimless crime because you say they overvalued you, a judge and an AG that doesn't know anything about businesses or properties. You say that he overvalued his, and okay, let's say that he did. You've set the precedent. You need to go after every person everywhere that owns property and businesses and see what they valued them at and see if you agree. Because if not, it's time to charge them $500 million and take away their stuff.
Letitia James said her argument was New York is the victim.
No.
New York is the victim in all of this.
New York is the victim of her and the judge.
Yes, because now people, as we said before, Kevin O'Leary said this, no one's going to post up in New York. I mean, they might, but the chances of people posting up, making businesses, having things thrive there, they're going to move their businesses elsewhere. Because if this could happen to Trump, it could really happen to people like Kevin O'Leary and Shark Tank or Mark Cuban.
It's true. All right, we are going to switch gears and we will talk a little local news here. We're going to be joined by the sheriff of Jefferson County, Sheriff Dave Marshak. I want to talk to him about he's been tweeting and talking about immigration and its impact on our area. Also, obviously, an election year that policing and crime are at the top of everyone's mind. So, perfect time to talk to the sheriff of Jefferson County, Sheriff Dave Marshak. Joins us next on Colombo and Katie.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Little putt-putt and go-karts, and Katie's ready to rock.
Okay.
Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL. And local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
To all our incredible supporters, we at the David Dorn Foundation say thank you. Your 5-star online reviews that you recently posted are beacons of encouragement on our mission to assist first responders. And a shout out to Steve Katraba, who reviewed us with these powerful words. The Dorn Foundation continues to fill a need in the public safety community and thereby to the public. Steve, your words are more than a review. They show the impact we're making for first responders. To read more strong reviews, Google the Dorn Foundation now.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Like any good conservative, we have our principles and our values.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world,
I don't even know how conservatives can even take their head out of the ground long enough to complain about anything.
They're trying to call us conservatives Nazis.
I think they ought to be ashamed.
it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
All we want is freedom and liberties and less government.
I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm an American.
Welcome home.
Because everyone gets a voice.
This is News Talk STL.
News and information.
Welcome home. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
What new chaos and crises did Joe Biden start over the weekend? We'll discuss at 4:25 with former U.S. Senator Jim Talent. Red State Headlines at 5:25 with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. As we mentioned, we are hoping to talk to the sheriff of Jefferson County, our friend Sheriff Dave Marshak, who is busy at the moment. We're going to try to catch up with the sheriff. He's kind of important, so
Yeah, things to do.
we'll hopefully be able to catch up with him in a few moments here. But moving on. Speaking of that Trump situation, the Trump's bond getting slashed more than in half today, and the judge looking ridiculous again, and Letitia James looking ridiculous again. Another person that looked ridiculous again, and surrounding this Trump situation, AOC. She has embarrassed herself again. Last week, it was Rico with Tony Bobolinsky, which, by the way, I saw a Babylon Bee headline over the weekend. Babylon Bee had a really funny headline, an article about Meghan Markle being upset about how much Kate Middleton's cancer diagnosis has affected her, Meghan Markle.
Totally.
And so I clicked on that, which put me on the Babylon Bee website, and then I was on it. Then it's like going down a rabbit hole because it's so great. There was a headline about AOC and Rico, and it said, AOC says Rico is not a crime, comma, it's the guy who brings her food.
Oh, my God.
It's the delivery man that brings her food.
Dang.
And then there was a picture of like a young guy. Like that was Rico.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was last week for AOC, which we covered here on the show. Today, AOC said that there is a risk if New York doesn't take away President Trump's assets. That by allowing him to pay this bond and not be threatened to have that's the problem. That's the worst thing that could happen. We're risking things by not going after President Trump's assets. Warning about what Trump could do to secure the funds to post bond in his New York civil fraud case. In reaction to this, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett said in a statement today about AOC talking about that and saying that there's a warning about what Trump could do to secure the funds to post the bond in New York, and how it's a problem, that it's a risk if they don't take away his property. Greg Jarrett said this, quote, I have no idea what she is saying. I don't really think she does. trying to make sense of anything AOC says is sort of a favorite Washington parlor game. She has this uncanny ability to talk incessantly while saying absolutely nothing. And that is because she is hopelessly uninformed, terminally obtuse, and I think just plain ignorant. This is the same person a week ago who said that RICO or racketeering is not a crime. No sane person takes AOC seriously, which I suppose is why she's always featured on CNN.
Yeah, bingo.
And I know Greg Jarrett works for Fox News, but he is also he's their legal expert. This is his area of expertise, and he is saying, along with many other legal experts, that AOC she just doesn't know what she's talking about. She clearly just doesn't have any idea what she's talking about.
There's just no clue. So there's another rising star that's happening within the Democratic Party, Jasmine Crockett. She's been on a lot of different.
Can't wait to learn more about her.
She's a rising star in the Democratic Party because she's one of the people, going on these different places, CNN and MSNBC, excuse me, and still perpetuating the idea that border agents, ICE agents, were whipping Haitian migrants. She's still going out saying that those photos that we saw that were clearly debunked by the photographer.
Like 2 years ago.
She's still going out saying that really happened and that the Haitian migrants were really whipped and all of these different things. And it's clear to me, she's also a younger woman like AOC. And it's clear to me that whenever I see someone like AOC during these testimonies, there's a lot of, you and I do this. There's a lot of hand waving going around with AOC. There's a lot of emotions running high whenever she starts to speak, specifically with this Tony Bobolinsky situation.
Yeah.
And I would love to know what a body language expert would have to say in these instances, because there is a shift in her behavior. Emotions running high, hands waving, going crazy, throwing around papers. And all of those things make me believe that she doesn't have a strong argument. It's about the show to take away the fact that whenever she's hammering Tony Bobolinsky, like, that isn't a crime, that isn't a crime, that isn't a crime.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not a legal expert. I don't know
but you
the inner workings of these things. But
you wouldn't act like you did.
And I sure
You would say, I don't understand it.
Completely.
You wouldn't wave your papers and make some claim about the details of a crime that you don't even know when you don't know the detail, when you don't know those details.
I'm being serious. If you go back and watch, and now I sound like Joe Biden. Come on, folks. I'm being serious.
I'm serious.
But if you go back and watch whenever she's asked about these legal matters, whether they be Trump or something going on with Biden, something going on with Hunter, she gets very emotional and her body starts doing these very expressive things. And to me, I look at that and I'm like, someone that's a Jonathan Turley. You don't see Jonathan Turley wavering in his emotions when he's explaining legal matters. You don't listen to a Hans von Spakovsky and hear him getting emotionally flustered, even whenever he's maybe siding with Trump that it's not fair. She just doesn't have a lot to go on. And that's why I'm like, why are we letting her? Why is she speaking here?
Because she is a member of the United States Congress.
Why is she speaking in this hearing with Tony Bobolinsky?
Because the Democrats put her on the committee that is handling that hearing. Important committees she's been assigned to. I agree. And she's not the only one. I mean, she's like a prime example, but she's not the only one that you watch for 5 minutes and realize these people don't know what the heck they're talking about.
You remember last week, Jayapal crying about how she was crying and she was upset about the trans issue?
Yes.
That just happened, like crying about how trans people should be able to go into locker rooms with young females because that's how they identify.
About the Planet Fitness situation.
There has got to be a point where it's like, the over dramatics and the theatrics of how you act when you're a congresswoman or a congressman, what is that saying about, and you bring this point up a lot, what is that saying about the level of achievement it takes to get to that point? We used to think Congress was a big effing deal. And now I'm seeing Jayapal cry because trans women can't go in the bathroom with 12-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing AOC talk about legal matters for Hunter Biden and Tony Bobolinsky.
I don't understand every detail, and I don't know anybody that does. You'd have to study it so closely.
Yeah.
There's so much there with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and all those business dealings. I mean, I have a pretty good grasp on all of it, but I don't know all the intricacies or every detail of it. She so clearly doesn't even know what she's talking about, yet tries to play the role of an expert. And I wonder if, so you're saying that you're saying that that's her cover for not knowing.
I think it's her cover.
That's her cover to like make it look like she knows what she's talking about.
Totally.
By putting on a show.
Totally. Theatrics.
That might be, but part of me believes that she actually thinks that she's smart. Part of me believes that she actually thinks that she does know what's going on. And she is smart and she does understand everything. And that gives her this confidence that makes her look even more ridiculous because she's so confident and so just wrong.
Which is worse.
I don't know.
Which is worse.
I don't know. It's all bad. It's all bad.
I just don't. There are these rising stars within the Democrat Party. Obviously, AOC has been in the spotlight for a very long time, but there's others like her that are perpetuating these ideas, especially when it comes to this Greg Abbott deal and the border. These false narratives on CNN and MSNBC that really, really scare me because I look at, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at a video of, like I said, Democrat Representative Jasmine Crockett talking about the Haitian migrants being whipped by the border agents. And if that is their mechanism, and she's also a huge person, Tony, and I would love for you to read into this.
Yeah, I got to get to know this person.
She's also a huge person that is not about states' rights. She's like, states' rights are only convenient whenever Democrats are in power. Isn't that funny how, things like that happen? You really, if you look into her, you're going to be cringing because she is AOC, Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
Part of Cory Bush.
Socialist progressiveness at its finest.
Absolutely. Young woman, pretty, the whole bag.
Can't wait to learn more about her. She part of the squad? She on the team yet?
I have not seen
She's still
her.
trying out?
I think this is a tryout era, but but boy, she is working. And I just want to say one more thing. Every single one of her shots has a black and white photo of her behind her talking on a podium, like in a righteous pose. She has like these two ginormous 16 by 16 or 25 by 25 photos of herself, black and white, speaking on a podium to make her look that much more important. And I'm like, oh, God. Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this the shot?
Yeah. Who are you trying to prove to? Who are you trying to prove to that you're important?
Big wig.
Yeah, exactly. I picture the classic Mean Girls movie scenario of cheerleader tryouts where the mean senior varsity cheerleaders are like sitting at a table and the new girls come up to like try out for cheerleading and they just rip her up. That's how I envision a new Democrat applying for the squad.
Trying to get in.
It's AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, and they're sitting at the table.
Yeah.
And they're the mean girl cheerleaders. And somebody like this girl, Jasmine, whatever, is like, I'm here to try out for the
look how
for the
progressive
team.
I am.
Yeah, look
Here's
how
my
progressive.
scroll.
Yeah, and they're like, name 10 things that are wrong with Donald Trump now.
Yeah, totally. Pop quiz.
Yeah. Why should illegal immigrants be allowed to vote? Well, illegal immigrants should be. It was a trick question. They're not illegal immigrants. They're newcomers. Get out of here, you fraud.
They're newcomers.
That's the way I see it going down.
Totally.
All right. I want to talk about James Carville. Mike Ferguson stole my thunder.
Uh-oh.
This is the James Carville show. Colombo and Katie is the show that covers James Carville.
Had the guts
and
to talk about him.
He was covering James Carville today. Speaking of AOC, she spoke out. She's mad at James Carville also for this interview that he did with the New York Times, where he basically just trashed his entire party and the progressive agenda that he says is destroying his party. He uses the term preachy females.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you think that went over well with AOC?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'll explain what the Raging Cajun is up to, making big waves, again, on his own side, as well as that 60 Minutes interview with the Mexican president.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Where he tore into
Very
United States
interesting.
culture. And look, Mexico's got a whole lot of problems, but when you're right, you're right.
Touch a nerve. Touch a nerve.
Right? So we'll get into all that and more. Plus, we'll talk to Rob Carter just after 3 o'clock here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com.
I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what?
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. This is what's happening.
I know it may not look like it, but I've been around a while.
President Biden is not interested in bringing people together, and he's also not interested in creating real solutions.
He came to give a campaign speech, and it was that.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
So talking to Dave Sylvester from the Gutter Pros multiple times this week, especially after those storms came through the area a couple of weeks ago, that was a moment that a lot of gutter damage was either created or I think even more exposed, like some gutter issues that maybe some homes were having in the past that were maybe hard to detect or weren't that big of a deal after those storms ripped through. I think a lot of homeowners in the area have realized that there is a gutter issue that they need to take care of. If you are one of those people, don't wait. Don't let a potentially small problem turn into a bigger one. Call the Gutter Pros now. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We have seen it firsthand at the Colombo house. They are just so easy, affordable, quick, nice. I mean, every positive experience you could have with somebody working on your house is what we experienced with the Gutter Pros. So whether it be leaf protection, gutter repair, new gutter installation, take advantage of their free estimates and call the Gutter Pros now. If you're having any gutter issues or you suspect there could be an issue up there with your gutter or your fascia or the soffit, all the stuff up there attached to your gutters, if you think there's a problem, call the Gutter Pros. Let them come out and take a look at your home or business. And call the Gutter Pros at 314-656-7195 or just go to gutterpros.com.
Seavers JCB has amazing deals on JCB mini excavators ranging from 2 tons to 10 tons. It's your choice to take 5 on one of these great offers. 0% financing for 5 years or up to $5,500 cash rebate and a 5-year warranty. See terms and conditions for details, but don't wait too long. These offers are for a limited time at Seavers JCB. And check out their full line of industry-leading JCB equipment. Check them out online at seaversjcb.com.
Hey, I'd like you to get to know Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. Those are dentists and my dental team, along with their dental team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. You know, whether it's economic value with their dental savings plan and their real concern about giving you value, which is, of course, quality at a great price, or whether it's their personal values, their dedication to absolute precision. I can tell you when I go in and get my treatment there or just a cleaning, whatever, it's always, I get this feeling it's like laser-guided precision. Well, yeah, they have have lasers, but they don't do that for everything, of course. It's the right tool for the right job. Whether it is dental implants, whether it's just general dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, and by the way, he can use some Botox in all the right ways for those applications as well. You'll find the greatest of care, the greatest value, delivered with people who have real values, the values we share at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Get to know them by calling 636-978-0226, 636-978-0226, or advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Sitting at the edge of the bed, 1 million thoughts as I reflect. Tease me just a little, I'm not hard to persuade. Fully aware.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 News Talk STL. James Carville going after his own party, warning Democrats once again about all the things they are doing to lose elections, as there are very, very many important elections right around the corner. And yeah, I really did like have an audible reaction when I heard Mike Ferguson talking about this morning. Actually, I was actually kind of happy. I was like, okay, good. Somebody does think that what James Carville does is newsworthy. James Carville slams wokeness pushed by Democrats and blames preachy females. In an interview with the New York Times, Democrat Party strategist James Carville rallied against the party's pursuit of wokeness, calling it a, quote, giant stupid argument that will lead to more Democrat losses in future elections. Published over the weekend, Carville said that no one wants to live according to woke principles. Listen, there's not very few political issues that I agree with James Carville on. But he knows, he's smart enough to know that the way that Democrats talk to voters, the way that they're condescending, the way that they pat them on the head and say, I'm smarter, I'm better, and the way that they try to tell everybody how to live their lives, he knows how bad this is. And this is him trying to save his party, not stick up for Republicans like, oh, James Carville is now he's a Republican spy. No, he doesn't. He hates Republicans, and that's why he's tearing down the Democratic Party right now, because he sees how much they are losing. Carville said no one wants to live according to woke principles, and that they're a fast track to conservative political victories. He said, quote, the woke stuff is killing us, and that the left was talking in language that ordinary Americans do not understand, using terms like Latinx and communities of color, and with a tone many Americans found sneering, noting how this wokeness provides more of an ego trip for its proponents rather than political results. He's so right. And he kept going. Quote, whoever thought it was a good idea to tell people you can't hug them, or you've got to be careful, or you've got to think about names to call them other than the name you know them by. There's nothing wrong with me being white, or you being white, or them being black, or me being male, or you being female. It's all just a giant, stupid argument. He wasn't done. Later in the interview, Carville diagnosed where much of this attitude is coming from. Quote, a suspicion of mine is that there are too many preachy females. Don't drink beer. Don't watch football. Don't eat hamburgers. This is not good for you. The message is too feminine. Everything you're doing is destroying the planet. You've got to eat your peas. He slammed the elites in the party and in the media for ignoring male Democrat voters, stating, if you listen to Democrat elites, NPR is my go-to for that. The whole talk is about how women and women of color are going to decide this election. I'm like, well, 48% of the people that vote are males. Do you mind if they have some consideration as well?
It's true. I mean, seriously, point to the lie.
Right.
Point to the lie in that post. And again, this harpens back to the idea that there has been a perpetual cycle and notion in the Democratic Party that every man is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic masculinity. We never heard the end of it. Now, there are men that are awful, and they do have toxic behavior, just like there is toxic women. Those traits are individualized. That is not casting the wide net all over the gender.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what happened with the uprising of these highly progressive women. They have done everything in their power to demonize men and manly characteristics. And I don't fault James Carville for saying it has become a hyper-feminist female movement, and maybe there needs to be a balance to this.
Yep. And to this point, every Democrat that has pointed that out has gotten slapped down.
Oh, yeah. Another
But-
female thing. Don't do it.
Yeah. But it's starting, you're starting to hear, you hear the rumors all the time. You read reports in various, the Times, the Post, about how anonymous sources in the Democratic Party are speaking out against, Joe Biden's disaster at the border and how pandering to illegal aliens is turning voters against them. So you hear, that voice is, that thought is prevalent in the Democratic Party. But anytime somebody comes out and puts their name on that message, they get slapped down by the progressive elites of the party. But that's great. That's great for conservatives. It's great for Republicans, who, by the way, are doing everything they can to
Screw it up.
not win an election this year.
Screw it all up.
Both
Surprise.
parties
Mess.
Both parties are doing everything they can to lose elections. Democrats are chasing the woke ideology. He also said in that interview, he said many of these Democrat politicians would rather be on the woke pedestal and lose than win the election. They would rather stay, and he was like mocking them. He said they would rather stay pure to the progressive left and lose rather than campaign to white males or do anything that would be off the beaten path of the ultra progressive agenda. And I think he's right. They think they would rather lose.
But this is where it gets scary for the rest of us, because now we have two parties that are unwilling to compromise. We have two Republicans do the same way. And then some of those things, like some of the things that the Freedom Caucus, especially the one here in Missouri, they're not willing to compromise. I get some of their concerns. But now we have two parties that hold their political ideology so high that they cannot dare step over to the other side to make a compromise happen. And that is why they are both losing so tremendously. They're stepping over their feet, chasing their own tails, thinking that they're doing what's best for themselves to preserve this party. Meanwhile, the rest of us, you and I are looking at each other in the studio, Tony, like, holy crap, they both don't want to win elections, do they? We have the RNC chair going to NBC.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Ronna McDaniel going to NBC.
She's mad about that, too. AOC's mad about everything today. She's mad about Ronna. She's mad at NBC for hiring. Oh, no. That wasn't AOC. That was The View. The View is mad. The View is mad at NBC for hiring Ronna McDaniel. AOC is mad at the judge in New York and at James Carville for preaching.
It's Looney Tunes.
It is Looney Tunes. And yet Republicans don't seem prepared to strike.
No.
We're going to continue this conversation. I want to talk about that 60 Minutes interview with the Mexican president. Also, speaking of House Republicans, they say that they are going to possibly file contempt of Congress charges against A.G. Garland. I'll believe it when I see it. We'll talk to Rob Carter about it next.
What they said was true. Now I'm in the bed.
Missouri education officials must be bad poker players. They keep doubling down on the same bad bet. Public school students haven't been reading or doing math at their grade level for way too long. Last year, a horrifying 40% were regarded as not college or career ready after high school. Many states have adopted school choice. Iowa, Oklahoma, and Arkansas all provide money so families can choose the public or private school that works for them. And Kansas has one of the strongest public school choice programs in the nation. Nearly every family in Missouri is given exactly 2 choices for their children's education. They're assigned public school or learning online. That's it. Our neighbors trust their parents to choose the right school for their kids. Missouri doesn't. So enrollment is already shrinking. That will mean fewer high school graduates, college students, and workers. A bad bet indeed. Check out our 2024 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Does your life insurance plan include living benefits, hearing, diabetic supplies, teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones? Larry Connors here. I suggest you call Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial. Call 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
So speaking to Skip Weber in recent weeks, right now is a great time to purchase a new vehicle from one of the 3 area Weber Chevrolet dealerships. Inventory, the supply chain situation is much better than it has been in recent years. So this is a great time to take advantage of that, with that selection being back at the dealerships, but still top dollar on your trade-in that you could take advantage of. Of course, Weber Chevrolet is going to get you the best price on a new or used vehicle. They're going to offer you the most on your trade-in, and right now, of course, they also have the best service departments, and that is really what has built their reputation, the reason that they have been around for so long, over 120 years in St. Louis, being the best. Weber Chevrolet. Learn about what's happening at all 3 dealerships now by going to the website weberchevrolet.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. With the latest legal development now involving Donald Trump, here's Greg Cluxton.
In a significant victory for the former president, a New York appeals court agreed to hold off collecting a $454 million bond in the civil fraud trial if he puts up $175 million within 10 days. If he does, it will stop the clock on collection and prevent New York from seizing his assets. Meanwhile, the judge in the Stormy Daniels hush money case has ruled that trial will begin April 15th. That start date represents a 3-week delay to give Trump lawyers more time to review more documents. Greg Clugston, Washington.
At the United Nations today, the Security Council demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. United States abstained on that resolution, which also demanded the release of all hostages that have been taken captive. Also at townhall.com, changes in the air at Boeing.
The troubled aircraft manufacturer CEO Dave Calhoun will be stepping down from the top job at the company at year's end. Boeing has been facing increasing pressure from major airlines, wanting to know how the company plans to fix aircraft manufacturing problems that have made headlines worldwide in recent months. In another personnel change, board chair Larry Kellner has told the company's board of directors that he will not be standing for re-election. Rich Thomason reporting.
Rough weather continues around parts of the United States. Heavy rain, large hail hitting Southern California, foot of snow in Northern California, and a major winter storm over central regions of the country. Heavy rains in Brazil have claimed the lives of at least 23 people over the weekend. Some 5,000 have been forced to evacuate. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Laura Trump provides a fresh and honest perspective on the issues that matter to you on the Right View podcast. Now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
The number of Americans, and I think this is part of the problem right now, the number of Americans getting their news from TikTok quadrupled in the past 3 years. It really kind of terrifies me for what is to come for this country.
Subscribe to The Right View on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Rumble, or at Salem Podcast.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Soaking rain this evening. Still pretty windy, too. Gusts 40 miles an hour, a little more. And as we head into the overnight, the steady rain ends, but there may be a brief shower around during the morning. Otherwise, it's a colder day and still breezy, just not as windy. A low of 44, a high of just 50 degrees. Mostly cloudy in the afternoon. Wind gusts more around 30 miles per hour, but still noticeable. Then Wednesday, we break out into sunshine. A chilly start at 32, a high of 55 Wednesday afternoon. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams was set to visit the southern border and parts of Mexico, but his office has since canceled that trip. I'm Tommy Lahren. I'll tell you why next.
Federal authorities are now pressuring banks to spy on the transactions of conservatives. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and this is yet another reason why you need a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Secure your IRA or 401k right now. Text SHELTER to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
Message and data rates may apply.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
City Mayor Eric Adams announced on his radio show that he would make another trip to the southern border to survey the situation and meet with partners in Mexico. Given our borders are, Kamala Harris refuses to return and address the issue at all. I would give Mayor Adams some credit, but it turns out he has canceled his trip due to safety concerns in the region of Mexico he was set to visit. That's really rich, Mayor Adams. The safety concerns are too great for the mayor with a full security team to make that journey? Hello, it's too dangerous to go to the border, but the border is coming to America every single day, into his city, into your city, into every nook and cranny they come. Hint, hint. If the southern border is too dangerous for elected leaders to visit, then sending undocumented folks up the southern border by plane, train, and automobile is probably pretty dang risky too. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I don't know where I would get the truth if it weren't for you.
Live and local.
Welcome to the People's Republic of America stand.
Here comes another roller coaster, another circus.
This is News Talk STL.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
Oh, this is it, man.
Oh, why can't you see what you're doing to me?
Let's go, King.
When you don't believe a word I say.
All right, we got it. I gotta stop. I got Maggie's Medals here. That's Maggie's song. Let's go. Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. That's right. 2 silvers. 2 silver medals, 1 bronze medal at state championship this weekend. No big deal. That's how we do it.
Clanking around.
Just clanking around everywhere we go. Championships dangled. I didn't win them, but I'm still wearing the medals.
Heck yeah.
Rob, you ever take credit for somebody else's athletic accomplishment? Because I've been doing it all day, wearing my daughter's gymnastic medals that she won over the weekend.
No, but I like your style. We're here with a badge of honor.
That's all right. Rob Carter, host of the Rob Carter Show, which, of course, you can hear every weeknight at 8 p.m. here on News Talk STL with us. And I wanted to dive right into some of the stories of the day. You know what? We've been teasing the 60 Minutes interview, the conversation between Sharon Alfonsi, the 60 Minutes reporter that interviewed the Mexican president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, I believe is how you pronounce that last name. And that they were talking about the fentanyl situation, and I this has been everywhere. But for people that haven't seen this headline yet, the part that's getting all the controversy is that the 60 Minutes interviewer is pressuring the Mexican president about fentanyl and drug cartels and all of that, and sort of putting the blame on Mexico and what is Mexico doing to stop the drugs from leaving their country and specifically coming to the United States. And the Mexican president says that it's not all coming from Mexico, that fentanyl is being made everywhere, including in the United States. He said, he said Mexico is one of the places, but he said it's the United States, it's Canada, it's Asia. And then he goes on to say that he pointed to the breakdown of the family unit in the United States, and he says, quote, "You know why we don't have the drug consumption that you have in the United States and Mexico? Because we have customs and traditions, and we don't have the problem of the disintegration of the family." And Rob, that touched a nerve with a lot of people. And look, Mexico does a lot of really bad things, but that doesn't mean that you don't say the truth sometimes.
I was getting ready to say, are people saying that's not true?
Well, there are people that are very angry at the Mexican president for saying that when they are blaming him, blaming Mexico for the drug cartels and a lot of the crime and a lot of the drugs that make it across the border. And they're saying you're gonna attack us and the way that we live our lives while you have all these problems. But Rob, getting away from customs and traditions and families and communities and churches and all of the things, I think he might be onto something there.
I think he's right on it. Our culture is an absolute disaster at the moment. I don't know how anybody could disagree with that, with what they see. Families are breaking up like crazy. Half of our marriages end in divorce. Now you have a whole thing where kids don't want to talk to their parents. This is a real thing going on. I was talking to a buddy of mine. We both have problems. I have a daughter and he has a son. Neither one will talk to us, and we don't know why. They went away to college, and all of a sudden we can't talk to them. It's the craziest thing in the world. Yeah, it's depressing, and nobody can understand it. It's happening. It's real. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know why it's happening, but it's a real thing. And for parents that are lucky enough to have relationships with their children because they're able to keep their marriages together, don't recognize that society is pulling their children away from their parents through whatever means necessary. They say that we're old and we're out of touch and the world is changing and we're not going along with it. That's a real problem.
You're toxic.
That nobody seems to. Yeah, you're toxic. You're toxic because you disagree with the way the world is moving, and you want to, at least with our forum, we want to have a conversation about it. That's all I've ever wanted, was a conversation with, politicians, people of power. I want to have a conversation about where the world is heading. That seems to be not a good thing. I was on a back and forth with Sarah Unsicker, who's running for governor, and I cannot get her to answer the question. She came out and said that she believed the elections were interfered with. And I've been on a back and forth with her on Twitter. You guys know I talked to you about it last time with Jay Ashcroft. Why do neither party in this state of Missouri, and around the country for that matter, why do both parties say the elections are being hacked? Both parties, I could play 20 minutes of clips from both parties saying the elections can be hacked. And yet neither side of the aisle will have a debate, will even recognize it. As soon as the elections are over, you can bet your bottom dollar this time around, if Donald Trump wins, the Democrats will say it was stolen. If Joe Biden wins, the Republicans will say it was stolen, but they never fix it. And that should lead every journalist in the state of Missouri and around the country to ask a few questions. But for some reason, they can't ask them, don't want to get the answer. And I was on with Sarah Unsicker for the last 2 days, must have had 25 correspondences back and forth. And she kept saying, I never said any of that. So I kept playing the clips I just kept sending the clips to her, and she can't answer the question. And over 25 correspondences back and forth, Sarah Unsicker, who said she had credible evidence of election interference in Missouri, will not address it. What could that possibly be? What is going on? I'd like to know. And that leads me back to, and I don't want to be conspiratorial, I really don't, but it does lead me back to a lot of information about what's going on between Mexico and the United States. There's a lot of people that believe the drug cartels have a real handle on what's going on in the country, and they do it through mafia-style tactics with fear and intimidation. But, you know, as soon as she comes out and says the elections were interfered with, her party basically throws her out of her, throws her out of the caucuses. And now she's saying she didn't say it. And I've got 100 different news articles and TV clips of Missouri press saying that she said it, and she won't even address. She act like it didn't happen. It's bizarre.
So, Rob,
So bizarre.
I want to talk about this because I do see 2 hours ago you made this really great tweet, but I wanted you to break it down a little bit for me. It starts with voting system standards. Your question is this: is election integrity and following the law ignored in Missouri? Should Jay Ashcroft answer these accusations publicly? What is the role of government officials? And you tagged 2 people and said that Sheriff Dar Leaf, I believe, all have
Yes.
claims of the evidence. So, kind of what you're already speaking to now. Can you explain this tweet along with the things that you tagged in here about voting system standards?
Right. So what's going on is Dar Leaf is a sheriff in Berry County, Michigan. And I had a woman on my show. She's the attorney for Patrick Byrne. She says that she has absolute, dead solid, no doubt about it evidence that Serbia was controlling elections in certain counties in Michigan and around the country.
Oh, boy.
There's no doubt, she says. I had her on my show. She explained it. She was arrested the next day in D.C. She was arrested for, because she was basically saying Dominion knew that these elections were being hacked and being stolen. And so she's in a defamation case with Patrick Byrne. So she gets arrested. Dar Leaf comes out as the sheriff, because that's where you're supposed to take your information when you're trying to get things done. As your sheriff, he has a lot of power. He says that he's seen the evidence, and he says there's no doubt about it. It's lock solid. And yet you don't hear about it. Jocelyn Benson in Michigan is she's the Secretary of State. She's another Harvard Club member. She's really good friends with Katie Hobbs, who it looks like manipulated an election in Maricopa County down in Arizona. And then you have this woman, Allie Grafe, who is suing the Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft, because she says the machines that we are using are not accredited, which by HAVA is law. So she said everybody that votes on an electronic voting machine in Missouri is the counts are illegitimate because they're not to standard. The law says that these things have to be looked into every so often, and a certain body has to accredit them, and that hasn't happened since I don't know what year. I think she said 2014. So she says the reason the courts don't want to address it and the politicians don't want to address it is because they were elected on those machines, and if they're illegitimate, it would cause a constitutional crisis within the state of Missouri. My question is she right? I don't know that she's right. I'm not an attorney. She's very adamant about it. She's out there in a big way. And I think Jay Ashcroft, as Secretary of State, running our elections, should address it. He should just tell us, that she's crazy, and here's why, here's the law, here's what's happening, and explain it to the people of Missouri, because he basically laughed her out. And the state courts kicked it into federal court. And it's been a whole thing back and forth that nobody knows about because the Missouri press, we don't have one, obviously. But if we had a press, they would address this, because we should know as voters whether our elections are legitimate or not. I play a 20-minute clip on my show of Democrats saying the elections can be hacked. And then you have the Democrats acting like it's not happening after when Donald Trump says the elections are hacked. And it just goes back and forth, back and forth. And if they are being hacked, it would be in statewide elections. It wouldn't be every representative or every state senator. It would be statewide elections where 2 or 3 counties that are huge can overwhelm the entire vote of the state. That means your governor, your Secretary of State, and your Attorney General, the people that actually run the state, that have all the power, they can manipulate these votes however they want. And then you say if it's a one-party system, you just extrapolate it, right? You'd say if it's a one-party system, then guys like Jay Ashcroft, whose father is John Ashcroft, I'm not making any bones about it. I think what John Ashcroft did with the Patriot Act is criminal. I don't think you should be able to spy on American citizens through surrogates and act like it's not happening. I don't think the FBI should be able to shut down my Twitter and shut down my Facebook and shut down my Instagram and control my voice as a free citizen and then act like it didn't happen. And this is happening in both parties. Now you have a question with Murthy and the state of Missouri, and you have the questioning from both the Democrats and the Republicans acting like the government doesn't have power over the message. Well, I thought that's what the First Amendment was about.
So
It was
Rob,
for us to have power over our message. It doesn't even make any sense.
I want to ask you to this point and to what Tony said at the beginning of this segment. We have a president of Mexico on a 60-minute interview saying, look at the way people feel about your government. Look at the way people feel about your elections. Look at the way people view family and morality and value. Is it not hard to look within the United States, Rob, and say, there is a seed that has been planted in the United States that is unfolding very nicely for our adversaries to jump in and take our most valuable things that make us the United States, question each other, question our system, and then we have a broken society. I know that that's far, but is that not what this president of Mexico and so many other people have been saying about the United States?
Yes, I 100% agree with your assessment. The part that I would add to that is the politicians that are supposed to ease our concerns don't.
Yes.
And that means they're complicit. So if they don't ease the concerns, it's like I said to Sarah Unsicker, Sarah, your job is to represent your voters. Your voters don't have confidence in the election system. I don't. All the people I talk to don't. If you go out on the street and say, hey, do you really believe the elections are on the up and up and that one person, one vote, knowing the mass mail-in voting, you have states that have no signature verification, you have states that have no voter ID. You can win the election in the United States in 27 states that have no picture ID or no ID whatsoever, and you can vote. Now, how does that a free country? If you can bring 20 million people in here to vote however you want in those 27 states, you can overthrow the election. And if that's possible, why is Donald Trump? Why is Joe Biden? Why is not Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Why are none of these people that are in power in front of us every day not bringing it to account? They're not even talking about it. And that is a real serious problem. So it's the breakdown of confidence in the election system, and the people that are in power that are supposed to be protecting us won't even allow you to talk about it.
Talking to Rob Carter, and you know what? We're going down the path, so let's just go down the path, because I think it's important for people to also realize the past, and anybody on either side that talks about election purity and tries to pretend that one side is above doing things. There's celebrated history of you can look back at presidential elections in the past that people are promised positions in administrations if they're able to pull over certain endorsements or groups of people, and they're promised things under the table if they're able to deliver. There's stories of election officials, or not election officials, campaign officials for going into cities and passing out sandwiches and packs of cigarettes to homeless people and telling them to go in there, walk in there and vote for this person, and here's a sandwich and a pack of cigarettes. I mean, if you're willing to do it at that level, why wouldn't you be willing? Like, if you're willing to do what you can to manipulate elections at that level, why would I believe that you wouldn't try to do it at a higher level? And Rob, you said something interesting earlier about how politicians say they don't want to fix the voting system because then their elections would be considered invalid and it would be chaotic. I think that they don't want to fix the election system because they want to have a built-in excuse. Both sides.
You can take it either way, Tony.
Yeah,
you can make an argument either way.
Yeah, if you make a perfect election system and you say it's the perfect, election system, and then you lose, you have nobody to blame but yourself. And politicians don't blame themselves.
That's pretty much true. For me, I look at it in very simple terms. If you are representing the people of Missouri, and the people of Missouri, regardless of whether they're being hacked, whether they're being manipulated, doesn't even matter. Once that cat is out of the bag and the confidence of Missouri voters has been eroded, then it is your duty and your responsibility as a public official to make sure that you address those concerns. There should be a state holiday in Missouri, no doubt about it. Everybody should be off of work. It should be a communal effort. It should be hand counted, and it shouldn't be Democrat and Republican. If you hear the word uniparty and then you think, well, we got a Democrat and a Republican count them, well, who could possibly care? If you're saying it's a one-party system and the money is coming from big corporations, billionaires within the state of Missouri and outside of the state of Missouri, if they can buy politicians on both sides of the aisle, then they can fix elections. And are you telling me that you can't buy politicians? Is there anybody in the world that actually believes you can't buy politicians? Of course you can. So if you can buy both sides of the aisle,
buy Joe
say, okay,
Biden, I think that's pretty clear.
You can buy these people very easily. And if you say this person's going to win, you have to accept the loss. But when you accept the loss, I'm going to make you the head of a big corporation. Everybody wins. And that's how this game appears to be working. And if it's not, like I say, it's the obligation of the people leading us to fix the problem, fix the confidence, that recognize that there's a lack of confidence. I play on my show all the time. Rasmussen, a poller, said that 65% of American voters do not have confidence in the election system, and yet neither party addresses it. Why?
And both parties are the ones that created that that concern, because we heard for 4 years under Donald Trump from Hillary Clinton and from major names on the left, Stacey Abrams down in Georgia, that Republicans rigged the election to win in 2016. And then we heard for 4 more years from Republicans that the Democrats fixed the election in 2020 to win.
That's right.
So when you have 8 years of both sides telling voters that elections have been stolen, of course people are going to think that elections have been stolen.
Exactly. It's exactly the point you're making. It doesn't matter whether they are. It matters that leadership of both parties say that they are. Mm-hmm. So if you're the leadership within both parties, if leadership within both parties are telling you that the elections can be hacked, then you got to eliminate the ability to be hacked. It's that simple.
Yep.
If you're telling me they can be hacked, then I have to eliminate that as a condition of our elections. It's got to be gone. And they don't want to get rid of them. And if they don't want to get rid of them after they've told us they can be hacked, then the next question would be, why? Sarah Unsicker said the elections were interfered with. She said she had credible evidence. It was all over the media. And I have asked her 25 times point blank, and I'm not trying to cause problems with Sarah Unsicker. I said, Sarah, I just want to know what you're talking about. If you say that the elections are being interfered with, and she goes, I didn't say they were manipulated. You said manipulated. And I said, so you're saying they were interfered with without the intent of manipulation. Can you explain that to me? And she won't. I'm talking about for 2 full days, back and forth on X. She has not answered the simple question, why do we have electronic voting machines? Why do we have them? What's the purpose? Argentina just did a hand vote. Taiwan's doing a hand vote. People around the world are starting to recognize that these election machines can be hacked. A guy named Clint Curtis in the early 2000s went before Congress and said, I can write code that can change the election results and you would never know it. The code actually eats itself within the time frame that you would check out the machines. So I can check, and then all you do is backfill it with
whatever you want
with mail-in votes. You just backfill it.
Yep. That is
Which
Rob
is why
Carter.
they had that's why they had in Michigan, they had the cardboard in the windows and everything else, and that's why you had the flood down in Arizona that stopped it there. That's why you had the Sharpies in Arizona, is they were stalling the election to backfill the numbers they needed.
Yeah, one of them, I can't remember where it was. I want to say maybe it was in Detroit. They just went home. Everybody was tired, so hey, we're gonna let everybody go home and get and we'll pick it up fresh at 9:00 tomorrow morning. I remember being on the air that night. I remember being on the air covering that as it was happening, going, I've never heard that in all my. I've been covering presidential elections since I got into the business, and I was like, they are doing things tonight that I've never seen before, and not in just one place. In places across the country.
that was running his campaign with 2 masks on, with 12 to 15 loyal voters sitting in circles, got 81 million votes. I mean, 13 million more than Barack Obama, who's the most popular Democrat in modern American history. Joe Biden got 13 million more votes than Barack Obama running that campaign. Impossible.
Yeah, you don't really need any more evidence than that to think that there might be
don't
something
believe your lying
going on.
eyes.
Yeah, that's so true. Rob Carter, I love these. I love that you get on a topic and you follow it all the way through, and that's what I love about your show, and I'm so glad
Thank you, my
that we
friend.
have Rob here on the station every night now from 8 to 10 p.m., so make sure you're tuning in, and we'll talk to you again very soon, Rob. Really appreciate your time.
You got it. Have a great day. Thanks
I
guys.
gotcha. Yeah. All right, we have made contact with Sheriff Dave Marshak, the sheriff of Jefferson County. As I mentioned, he was on Twitter this weekend talking about the border and the immigration system, and you wonder why a Missouri sheriff is worried about the border, and it truly is because every state is a border state right now, especially in the election year of 2024. So I want to talk to Sheriff Marshak about that and some other very important law and order crime issues that we are all facing in this election year. We'll talk to the sheriff next on Colombo and Katie.
Stop by to say hello. Would I still see suspicion in your eyes?
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 941, 991 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
You can't see the tears are real and cry.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
If you are having any plumbing issues at your home or your business, or you have a project coming up and you need some plumbing done, A+ Plumbing and Drain, local, family-owned business, are the best team to call. Jeremiah and his team there at A+ have been the Colombo family plumbers since there has even been, before there was even an A+ Plumbing and Drain. Jeremiah built this company from the ground up, off of recommendations, off of word of mouth. And that is, talk about the most credible way to build a business. I don't think it gets any better than that. A+ Plumbing and Drain can take care of all of your plumbing needs, and they specialize in new construction and home renovation. So again, if you have one of those big projects, A+ Plumbing and Drain there for you. But I mean, they replaced the toilets, 2 toilets at our house last week, and something that I waited way too long to do, and I'm so happy with the work as usual from A+ and the team there. So again, if you have a plumbing need or a project at your home or business, call A+ Plumbing and Drain now. Call them at 636-288-7126, or you can reach them through Facebook, A+ Plumbing and Drain on Facebook.
Sometimes you want to do something extra special for someone. Vincent's Jewelers could help you. Maybe you want to do something for yourself. Mark a date, something you accomplished. It doesn't have to be anything really expensive, but it has to mean something now and for the future. Vincent's, locally owned, just ask for the chance to work with you, as they have with me, on Olive, just east of 270. Every day, new specials at vincentsjewelers.com or Vincent's Facebook.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
What happened at our border last week is a sign, a warning sign of what could happen. Border Patrol, Texas Highway Patrolmen, National Guardsmen attacked at the border by 500-plus illegals trying to push their way through. Now, the Border Patrol, Texas Highway Patrol, and National Guard are authorized to carry weapons. I don't know if any had weapons that day, but thank goodness there was no shooting. But, of course, we don't know if any of the illegals had weapons. And if they had fired a weapon, things could have escalated rapidly. Last month, a Texas congressman introduced a Defend Our Borders from Armed Invaders Act. They're still waiting to pass that bill and mark it up. 2 sad points here. One, that we even need to have such an act written. And 2, it should be standard fact and practice. We will defend our borders from armed invaders. Maybe this time they didn't have weapons, but now they've seen the green light and they've seen how Biden reacts, and the next time it will not be near as peaceful.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield has a very special deal. You do not want to miss this. A bottle of Angel's Envy engraved with your name, or maybe get several with your company name. What a great gift for special clients. So you can get one or several. Check the Lit Cigar Lounge STL Facebook for full details, or just visit Lit in Chesterfield. In fact, I'll probably see you at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield. Lit Cigar Lounge.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fence Works, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL Fence Works, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit stlfenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Dereliction of duty at the southern border and weakness in the Middle East. How can we protect our country when the president won't? We're going to ask former Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler about that on Tuesday.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
And the mirror's reflection, I'm a dancing with myself when there's no one else inside.
Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Busy Monday afternoon. If you've missed anything that we've talked about today, including that great conversation with Rob Carter, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. We put the podcast out right after we get off the air every day on every podcast platform. So wherever you get your podcast, subscribe to Colombo and Katie so you never miss anything that happens here on the show. Like this next great conversation that we're about to have with the Sheriff of Jefferson County. Sheriff Dave Marshak is back with us. Sheriff, as always, appreciate your time. Yeah.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, how are you?
Doing well. No complaints, and great to hear from you guys.
You bet. I've actually been, it's kind of ironic the way that the universe works. I've actually been... there's been various, issues, law and order stuff popping up in the news here and there, and I've thought about getting you on to talk about it. And then this weekend, I saw you post something on Twitter, and I was like, you know what, it's time. We got to get the sheriff on because there's too many interesting things to talk about. And the tweet was about the lack of border security and the number of unvetted people that are coming across the border. And as I mentioned earlier, it wouldn't have been... It wasn't that long ago in the past that it would have been weird for a sheriff in the middle of Missouri to be talking about the border as an issue that impacts his area. But as we've learned, it's a kind of a cliche, but it's a cliche that's true. Every state is a border state today. So, I wanted to ask you about your, from the stance of a law enforcement officer in the middle of the country, what is impacting us locally about the border situation?
So the reality is, historically we have been immune to these conversations, right? I mean, it was the Democrat-controlled big cities that originally opened arms and their wallets to the migrants and said, we welcome you with open arms. And now they're pushing back, and we're seeing the results in the rest of the country. And I'll give you an example. In Jefferson County, just 2 months ago, a local municipality, law enforcement came across a large group of migrants that were kicked off a bus, and then we're going to be left there. And the mayor had called me and asked what I would do, and I gave him some sound advice, and they put the migrants back on the bus and sent them over to the great state of Illinois, because the reality is local governments can't afford to rescue their communities based on the decisions that, from a national level, that this administration is making. So historically, it was the big cities, but now places like Jefferson County and other communities throughout this country are feeling the impact and will continue to feel the impact. Now, this doesn't even account for the violent encounters or the potential for large-scale threats to our community. But just on other scales of people being dropped off in the suburbs, that's what's happening across the country right now.
You know, and there's so many. There's this issue. There's the border issue and how immigration is impacting everyone. And you know, this being an election year, all of these issues are top of mind and weighing heavily in the minds of voters. And there's plenty of law and order, crime, police issues that are a part of that. I wanted to get your thoughts on, we had a conversation last week with a gentleman that I call America's favorite liberal, the great Keith Antone, who is working with the campaign of Wesley Bell for the District 1 Congress position, the Cori Bush congressional seat. Cori Bush is somebody who won her seat in Congress largely on the defund the police message and other extreme progressive messages. And now that's recent the polling that's come out regarding that race shows the Congresswoman losing tremendously by 20, 30 points to Wesley Bell, who I'm not saying he's not the great conservative hope by any stretch of the imagination. But is this a signal, Sheriff, that the defund the police movement has now bounced back and is rebounding, and has maybe even some of the people that 2 years ago, 4 years ago would have supported a candidate that had that message is now realizing how dangerous it is, and we're seeing maybe a return to common sense, at least a little bit, when it comes to that issue and some other policing crime issues?
I would only hope so. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think people like you and I recognize the significance of public safety and that investment to have professional police. But look, we're on the cusp, and not to dwell on the border. I know we were going to talk about it for a moment, but look,
you're good.
We have an unvetted, hundreds, thousands, we don't even know the number, that's scary, of unvetted persons who are potentially here to commit harm against Americans. That's our reality, and I think, we've lived in peace for some time. Nearly 23 years ago, we had September 11th. You have to think about how many people in this generation don't even know the significance of that. We are vulnerable. Look how easy it is to get guns in this community. And look, I don't know that we're there yet. I think you could have a significant event happen in our country where people will be forced to deal with it and think in terms of law enforcement, public safety, and security in a little bit different way. I just don't think we're there yet, because you still see some of the same radical conversations from the left, and they're getting away with it. Look, in Jefferson County alone, we have, and we've shared with your listeners before, in all these communities, we have a mental health crisis. In Jefferson County, our mental health team has identified 43 high-risk individuals that we focus on to make sure that they stay on their medication and that we kind of keep a lid on some of the potential for violence. That's just the mental health component with people that we know. Think about all the unvetted people coming into our country with zero accountability. This is a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, we know it's a problem at the border, but we are really in this likelihood of being a victims. I'm worried for law enforcement. I'm worried for public safety. But you have to really use your imagination, because we haven't seen anything like this in a long time, of what the potential for a major catastrophe in our country is, with hundreds of active shooters at the same time. And I just don't think a lot of people are thinking about those.
Sheriff, whenever we talk about rationalizing what's happening at the border, it's a really hard thing to do whenever you do have a political ideology, not classifying them as illegal aliens, then not classifying them as illegal immigrants, and then not classifying them as anything that has to do with immigration. Now they want us to call them newcomers, as Tony said previously in our first hour. So how is it that we make people see how serious it is at the border for those folks that might be ignorant to it, when we do have a faction of our country believing that it is our obligation as the United States to welcome these newcomers, aka illegal aliens, in with open arms?
Yeah, look, I think if you go back to one of the press releases from Governor Parson, and I think he's done a great job sending some resources down to help at the border. But just look at that. They sent 11 Missouri state troopers down to the border down in Texas to help out. And in 7 days, they encountered 193 of those migrants. At 16, they were able to turn back, and they arrested, 9 for some drug arrest. This is a problem. That's the resources of 11 troopers. You got to remember, they're not working 24 hours a day. And so for them to encounter those type of numbers should scare everybody in the state of Missouri and across this country.
That is great stuff, Sheriff. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time here. We'll have to get you back on. Really appreciate you. I know it was a busy afternoon, and we had to bounce around a little bit, so thanks so much.
No, I apologize. It's great to hear from you guys, and hopefully, listen, I appreciate your educated listeners paying attention to what's going on at the border and keeping law enforcement in your thoughts and prayers, because they truly, along with armed citizens, may be at a time to step up.
Amen to that. And there's more that I would love to talk to you about, so we'll have to get you back on again very soon. Really appreciate your time as always, Sheriff. Have a great rest of your day. That is Sheriff Dave Marshak, the Sheriff of Jefferson County. Always appreciate when the Sheriff makes some time to join us here on the show. All right, as I mentioned, if you missed anything today or you just want to make sure that you never miss anything any day here on Colombo and Katie, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. That wraps it up for us today, but we'll be back tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, then the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show at 4, Larry Connors USA at 6, and the Rob Carter Show at 8. Your home for live and local conservative talk right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
So let's sink another drink. You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Because nobody's ever had crowds like Trump has had.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every